Thank you, Adrian. This will be a very brief overview because I know we're all excited to learn about the future. But by taking a look back to the history of transportation, it can help us understand how our county got to where we are now. And I think it also gives us kind of fresh perspective with which to look towards the future. Because in San Mateo County, our street patterns, our neighborhoods, our downtown areas, they all have their own unique character depending on whether they developed in the era of stagecoaches, railroads, streetcars, or the automobile. So back in 1850, this was the main transportation network in San Mateo County, dirt trails that were built by the early Indians and Spanish settlers. The main trail was the El Camino Real, which linked the missions throughout California. And if you were going to travel at that time from Mission Santa Clara to Mission San Francisco, it would take you about a day. You'd be on foot or on horseback. Well, the gold rush in 1849 would change everything here. San Francisco's population boomed overnight, and San Jose at that time was slated to become the capital of California. So there was a need for faster transportation linking these two areas. So in 1850, the San Francisco San Jose stagecoach opened. It ran down El Camino Real through San Mateo. For 2 ounces of gold, you could get a ticket, and that was equal to about $32 at the time. And in 9 hours, you'd reach your destination. Well, the stagecoach helped spur a lot of development. The route had to be broken up into stages or stops where passengers could rest and fresh horses would be hitched to the wagons. And that was done at mile houses. This was the American House at Redwood City. So mile houses were all down the El Camino, and some of our first towns and cities in the county start to develop around their mile houses. Places like South San Francisco, Millbrae, San Mateo, Redwood City, Menlo Park. Well, the new innovation in transportation at this time, though, was the railroad. And in 1864, the San Francisco San Jose Railroad Company opened. And this was the first passenger railroad on the West Coast. And with it, San Mateo County got to develop as the first West Coast rail suburb. So travel time now is significantly less, just over 2 hours to go from San Francisco to San Jose, and 75 cents would get you a one-way ticket. But to put that into perspective, the average worker at that time earned about $1 a day. So as you can see, the county's population grows. We're up at about 6,000 people now. Because travel on the trains was so expensive, the first settlers here, the first suburbanites in San Mateo County were only the very, very wealthy. This is the mansion of William Ralston in Belmont, and this is typical of what suburban settlement was like in San Mateo County. Large estates along the rail lines. Well, the middle class also wanted to have a piece of this suburban lifestyle, and in 1890, the San Francisco San Mateo Railroad opened. It was an electric streetcar, and by 1902, it ran from the ferry building in San Francisco all the way down to San Mateo. So as you can see, it cost a lot less. It was a 25-cent round-trip fare. It took 40 minutes to go from San Francisco to San Mateo, and the streetcars ran frequently. During rush hour, they'd be every 10 to 15 minutes. So this really had a huge impact on our county because this allowed the middle class to come settle here. They could live in San Mateo County along the streetcar stops and commute to work in San Francisco. Well, it wasn't long after the era of the railroad that the newest innovation in transportation came at the start of the 20th century, the automobile. And this would change everything. The automobile provided faster, more efficient transportation, and it also provided freedom because people could move away from the streetcar and rail corridors and travel throughout the county. What soon became clear, though, was that we would need really good quality paved roads to not only bring more residents to the county, but to bring new businesses. And so in 1913, county residents passed a $1.2 million bond for road paving and road construction. And as more new roads were built, people gradually switched from car ownership, streetcar ridership to car ownership. And by 1940, the car culture was pretty firmly in place in the county. Almost all of the roadways that we know today, our freeways, and most of our freeways and our bridges were built. New businesses that catered directly to car owners, their car dealers, auto body shops, restaurants opened, and really changed the landscape of our county. And then post-World War II would make another dramatic change because so many people and jobs came into the county that there was a huge need for housing and new development. And since the car culture and the road systems were in place, development could really spread away from the rail and streetcar corridors. So housing, shopping centers, they get built from the baylands up to the hillsides and all the way down to the coast. So the era of the automobile has really helped transform our county. When we look back at where we've been from 1850 to where we are now, so much of this has been due to the era of the automobile. It's brought tremendous prosperity, population growth that really made our area what it is today. But of course, with all those things, it has also brought some negatives. Suburban sprawl, traffic congestion, air pollution, and greenhouse gas emissions. So that's why we're here today, to look towards the future to see what solutions there are to help solve these problems of today. I thought this was a really fitting quote to end on. We don't know what the future will hold. We have a lot of people here giving us some ideas. But what is clear is technology will continue to change transportation, and transportation will continue to change our lives here. Thank you.